Mitek bridges the divide between physical identity and digital identity. And as we work with our customers on ensuring that those digital identities properly reflect who somebody is in various transactions, whether it's to meet compliance or a fraud type of determining who is someone who they say they are, or ultimately just to benefit the overall customer experience and ensuring that the consumer in a transaction is actually going through the easiest, most seamless process possible. Layered on top of that is this whole idea of trust, the idea that we basically can go to a verifiable source or we can prove that that person is who they say they are as part of that transaction, which is increasing the trust level for both our customers as well as for the consumers themselves. So onboarding and ongoing authorizations or authentication transactions are an important part of what our customers look for as they're creating both trust and verifying the identity in a specific transaction. I know that sounds a little bit circular, but let me give you an example. When we work with our customers, whether it's financial services or gambling or more broadly some of the other players in the space, we get a good understanding of what they're looking for to ensure that the consumer is who they say they are. It's a very practical approach. It's an understanding of how they're going to actually manage that interaction with the consumer, but also how they want the consumer to interact with them at the end of the day. And the financial services transaction may look slightly different from a gambling transaction. There's a different level of risk. There's a different level of accommodation for the consumers and understanding of who they are and what they're doing. When we look at that, we will look at a lot of different types of data and attributes associated with that to get a better understanding of the identity being real or not real. And then we help our customers measure that risk against the realness, or what people would call in the industry false positives, false negatives, to be able to get a better idea about whether or not the consumer is who they say that they are in that transaction. So really a very pragmatic, practical way of interacting with our customers and the consumers to prove that as part of the process. So the trends that are going to affect where the industry is going are really two or threefold. The first is there's a network effect. You have to have people that can issue a digital identity or an identity in general, but then people that can accept that identity in a common framework or a common network. Now, many have tried to create this common network over time, but so far we haven't seen wide adoption of the core capability across different types of industries or players, or even within the consumers themselves. So these micro networks have emerged over time that basically allow consumers to talk to other consumers within specific spaces. Once that gets bigger and you see wider consumer acceptance, you'll see that grow. Now, this will likely need to be enhanced with some government regulations like the ones that have just been issued around the EUDI to basically enhance both the issuance and acceptance of digital identities and identity objects more general in the space. And then consumers, quite frankly, have to get used to using it. You've seen the adoption of device-based identity, but prior to that, you saw this device-based payments, which has become quite popular, whether you're using Google Pay or you're using Apple Pay as part of the overall network. The fact of the matter is consumers have to get used to using it in every single transaction. And we're only starting to see the beginnings of that. The last, I would say, are the regulatory framework changes that are really becoming more and more important. Many of our customers are trying to keep up with the level of change in the markets overall, whether it's state by state in the United States, whether it's provincial and other types of markets, whether it's cross EU. And it's often quite difficult for them to understand the implications of those regulations and how they run their business. So these different areas provide a lot of benefit, but then they could also, quite frankly, hinder the broader use of identities, digital identities specifically over time, and something that the market's going to have to work through to be able to get to that point.